Hey, so this PS2 is coming for a genuine Matrix Infinity installation. I haven't seen one of these chips since 2002, 2003 when I was in high school. When I got one. Here's the chip here. There you go. So the benefits over these chips, over basically a Modbo, which is a clone of it. Just open it up. These have their own internal clock, whereas the Modbo uses a clock point on the system, on the main board. You'd think that that would be a better thing, using the clock on the main board, because then it's completely in sync with the clock on the main board, but apparently not. So here's a Modbo I've just opened. I've seen these in this small IC version and a large IC version. So that's a Modbo 5. They do have different layouts. I think this is a SCPH-50002 model. I think in regards to the layout, the Modbo is probably, for the typical installation position, it's probably better where its points are, because you face it this way and these wires go off to the BIOS and these ones up for the drive connections. And your CX there, that's your clock, that won't be on here. Another difference I noticed was on the Matrix installation diagrams, which basically have the same points. It says leave the H wire off all power consoles, whereas Modbo says leave the H connection off power consoles unless you're Australian. So generally I do run the H wire, but we're going to omit that one on this Matrix. I'm not going to be going for a super sexy installation with you know, wire porn, solder porn, and gluing the wires down and that. I just want to wire it in and get it working. So here's your two chips. The first thing we need to do is basically determine whether this has got the GH023, which will be a V9, or a GH026 inside it, which will be a V10. That's going to determine whether we use a 1K5 resistor on the PIC Fix, which I'll be installing along with it, or a 2K2 resistor. I think Modsville USA has done all the work on that and suggested a V9 should use 2K2 and a V10 the typical 1K5. I think there were false triggers on the V9 with the 1K5 resistor, so bumping that up to a 2K2 keeps the system stable, but it will still reset in a bad case. So what the PIC Fix does, basically these consoles have a flaw. The PIC Fix was actually designed for the V12 Slims, but they later down the track figured out how to use them on these older fat models. So basically when the laser really struggles to read a burnt disc, it'll just send 100% power through to the laser continuously and it'll fry it, but the PIC Fix will detect that and just soft reset the system before the laser's damaged. But yeah, so we'll get this thing like open. Modchips installed. They don't all V9, but we'll just use OPL. I don't know if OPL's got 100% compatibility. Some people say only with an IDE drive, and then there can be issues when you're using the SATA adapter. So just get this one pulled apart. I'm just using my nails there. Get these plastic lugs out. And there's also another fix called the Romeo fix, which I think he just basically it's lifting a pin and the power pin and running it to an alternate lower voltage source. From my experience, it might protect the laser, but it also makes it terrible. Just the laser's performance is absolutely horrid. Everything's so slow to load. The laser, the drive seemed noisy, and it was just too detrimental to the system's performance. So I'll never use that mod again. And this one's still got the warranty sticker intact, so we can cut that with a razor or just peel it off with heat, which I'll probably do. Let's get this heat gun hooked up to power. I've got to remove that because that will stop us opening the console. These are pretty straightforward. Long one. Another long one. Another long one. Another long one. We have a short black one there. Short black one there. Then the silver top one, which I think is quite short, goes to the front of the console. Well, shorter than the others along here. Then I think this one's the same as those short black ones. So the only ones that we need to remember are that the silver one goes at the front on the very right hand side. Then you got the short ones here, short one there, and then the long ones. That's pretty easy to remember, so I won't be marking those out or anything. Then on these models, there's no ribbon attached from the button panel there, so the top will come straight off independently like that. And we'll get rid of the controller port. Now these can break. Just pop that up. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about them being brittle. This system looks like it's fairly low hours. That'll lift up like that. That ribbon will just pop out. You can put that to the side. Drop a screw in there. That's that. Then I believe that will come out now. Audio input capture turns itself off if there's no audio output, even though I'm using the microphone. That's a bit stupid. Switch the headset back on anyway. So we just screw in there. Just grip that. We'll go straight up here to the power supply. Unplug it. These are easy to remember as well because they're the smallest bronze coloured screws, and there's 4 of them. And that will just lift off those pins here. Put that aside. And you've got a plastic conductive, non-conductive sort of piece of material here, just that goes under the power supply. Pull that out, pull that tray off there, the hard drive dock. Put those aside. Get this fan here. This sticker's not really needed. You just lift that off or cut it. So these can break pretty easily too. There's not much you can do about it. This one looks like it'll be alright. Just gently wiggle it out. There's that. Just pull it through here. So that's our fan. There's one screw here I forgot. Put that aside. That will come out. Got one more bronze screw here, holding that top shield down into the bottom. Get that off. You can flip this whole thing upside down. We've just got those small screws to do. Get a screwdriver for it. These are pretty easy to remember as well. So they're all a dome head other than these two flat ones here. So on the flat surface, you've just got flat top screws. The rest are like dome head screws. So again, that's just very easy to memorize. So here's our two flat ones. Put that aside along with the rest. So I won't be using the alternate points. I prefer not to. I like all the wiring to be just on the top side of the board. So I won't even be, or is it the bottom side of the board? Bottom side of the board. So I won't even be removing that top shield. I believe that is it. So now we can, this sort of clips into the disk drive on the front and back. Just got to kind of pop it off. The tool floating around, that might help with that. There's one side and the other. You've got to be careful here because you've got a bunch of ribbon cables here on the side. And I missed one screw. So now that should lift away. It's got one more clip here at the back where it's connected to the disk drive. So there's the top shield. Let's drop that over here. Now we can get rid of the disk drive. These ones just straight unplug. I think that one's got a latch on it, does it? Let's unplug it without using the latch, should be fine. And that one more here. and then just lift the board off. Oh, sorry, I got this one as well for the laser. That's definitely on a latch. We'll pop the latch, pull the cable out, and lift the board away. We'll chuck that to the side. On the last system I did, it had a really, really noisy laser. All I had to do was lift this up and clean the spindle underneath that white magnetized spindle, the bottom spindle, and clean it with ISO and a cotton tip. And the noise went away. Before that, it was really noisy unless you put some weight on top. But judging by how clean this system is, I won't even be bothering. So I open that. I'm just installing the chip. That's it. So that's good enough now to work on. I won't even be touching that top shield. And it is a GH023 V9. So typically you'd be placing the mod chip here, wiring across to the BIOS pins over here, and up to there for the disk drive. I think there's an alternate point for A up here somewhere. So some of the other benefits of the original matrix, that's an actual FPGA. It's updatable, so you can firmware flash it without bricking it. Also, the Modbos sometimes come out in bad batches. Some of the common complaints are, there's a Modbo, that the settings that they save into it don't stay saved, and upon rebooting the system, all the settings are gone. Otherwise, I mean, if you just want a mod chip that works and you're not using OPL, I mean, I've really had no problems with Modbos. I've had one bad batch that had a bad chip in it, which I switched out. That's about it. So I've had the big IC versions and these small IC versions. What IC that is, you'll never know because there's nothing written on it. But again, that is just a cheap clone, a non-updatable cheap clone. And that's the original matrix that they cloned. So obviously this is not a 1-1 clone. They've managed to dump the firmware and make changes to it and stick it on the Modbos. Whereas, you know, some things are actually just a 1-for-1 clone. Components, PCB, firmware, everything. This is like, it's a cheap clone. It's definitely not 1-1. So I've cut, pre-cut a few wires here. This will be for our BGI and A. So I've cut them just an approximate length and I'll trim them down later. So I'm just going to hook all my wires to the main board and leave them floating for now. So I'm just going to try and get these pins we're soldering to kind of ready to take solder. So you got two in front of this ceramic capacitor here. I got a couple here. That's on there solid. So that is the trade-off. A bit of conductor length exposed. But it just flows down and it makes a really good joint. So that should be A. Let's strip the end of this off with my nails. dip it in some flux. Come in there with another ball of solder. Hold this directly above the leg you want it to take to, which is here. And then make a giant bridge. Just pull test it. No. There you go. All right, they're solid. And I'm counting a gap of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there. And then H would normally be here, but we're not doing H, so we're going to skip that and go to I. Oh, they're on there. Bit of a struggle. It happens. That little blob here on the conductor is annoying me. I'm just going to give it a quick brush. Got the wrong tip on here. I've got a lot of tips here. Most of them are genuine Hacko, but some of them are not. I don't want to use the... I think there's maybe one tip that's not genuine Hacko. That's actually not bad. The rest almost don't work at all. I think I had that tip on last, which was good. Let's wait for it to heat up. Just there. That's better. So they're all on solid. I can pull that hole. I'm pulling each wire individually, and I can pull the entire system towards me. So they're on there strong. They're not going to go anywhere. Just one last clean. And that's it. All right, onto the BIOS pins. All right, now the other points, I might just go directly to the legs rather than using those pads back there. This time I'm going to rinse the legs. I hate the leaded solder they use from factory. So I'm going to just try and drag all the excess to one side. There's not that much under there from factory. And then just introduce some I'm deliberately bridging here. Introduce some of this leaded solder. What else I can? Yeah. Let's press up. It might be a bit easier to, being lazy here, just go to this via, or you could go obviously up there. But it's just got to connect to the next pin. Yep. And then it says that the last one along here is W, which the guide says there. But we could alternately use there, or alternately go straight to there, which is what I'll do. Why not? Bit too much. There you go. You can see that runs up here to there and to there, which is what the guide says to use. But they're all done. All right, next point's a reset. This one's looking like a piece of piss. And that's the wrong point. Pull that off. Put it there. Alright, we just got SCEX Y and power and ground to go. So SCEX is, where's that? Let's have a look. How about we hit Y? So Y is just up here. That second little square running diagonally from the other little square pad. Just tear a bit of insulation off. And that is there. And SCEX. So the alternate A is up around here somewhere off memory. And it is near that. I'm looking for, hang on, maybe this way. So this corner. SCEX. Is it this corner? It's a bit overly bright, that light there. So we've got that. Then that's matching the picture. Then it's coming up under this corner. It should be on this corner. This is slightly different. Shut the J106. So it's 3.3. Y. No. No, that is it. So you got that there. Then these two should be here or there. I'm pretty sure that is connected to that. And it is saying there. But those are definitely connected. So yeah, here or here. Probably best off facing the wire towards the mod chip. So if I spin this, there we go. I'm coming up here to either one of these. Probably that one will be easier for my angle. There you go, SCEX. Done. Okay, so for 3.3 volts, it's suggesting to use here, which wouldn't be a problem, but there's a point over here that I can use. They're connected. So it looks like this whole plane's a 3.3 volt rail. It is, so I can jump into these wires or just go off the back of this ceramic cap here. Just there. I might use that point there. So the final wire is just a ground. I don't see a point in running a ground wire because I'm going to be mounting the chip here, and that's obviously a ground plane around the perimeter of the board, and the ground pins are right there. So I'll just run an offcut from here down to this. So obviously I have to mount the board, which means I won't be using liquid flux because it'll get onto this double-sided tape and unstick it. So I'll just cut a piece of this double-sided tape off Where are my scissors? Where are the scissors at? Here. Sure, I had another pair out earlier. So take the chip. Here's the tape. About yay long. And back in the drawer. Flip her upside down. Make sure that's the right length. Should be right. And then take the backing off. So this is safe to mount here. The edge has nothing conductive on it, and it's going to be floating a little bit. So I want it here. Just make sure there's no crap here. That's going to stop the tape from doing its job. Should be right. Grab the Modchip. Put it right here. Alright, you can see the mess of wires, a bit blurry. I might just speed run this section times 100 or whatever I can do in the editing software. Basically just need to sort through this and attach all the wires. We can get onto the PIC chip. Okay, all the connections are done by the ground. I don't have any 2K2 resistors. Last time I used a 2K and a 200. I seem to be out of those as well. So I found a 1.8 and a 390. So I'll just measure them, make sure, because they weren't labeled. You can see that one's 1K8. And this one's 390. Just solder them together, and that'll give us our offcut. So just cut this leg off for our ground there, and this one, 2 offcuts. So I'll just be heat shrinking these. I'll just link them up, see what reading we get combined. Just soldering off camera here. So I'll put this in heat shrink. There's our 2 resistors linked up, and we get 2.15K. So it's like 50, I'm sure, but that's going to be close enough. It's not an exact science here. So obviously a 1K5 was recommended, but Modsville reckons 2K2 is better. So landing at 2150 instead of 2200, I think will be okay. So that, put that aside for the PIC Fix, which I'll do shortly. Put one off cut there. Just bring this into the camera. There's bits of insulation everywhere. There's our chip. There's our ground point we want. Let's go from here. Oh, that's hot. Okay. I'll just fold that down there. Chop off the excess. Way too much, but it's alright. This might take a while to take. Not the best tip here that I've got on it for what I'm doing. Should probably change it. I'm going to change that tip. Nice meaty one. Transfer more heat. Just waiting for it to reach temperature. she's on. I've dug through my PIC microcontroller collection. I don't have many left. I think these are 12C509A, so I can use those. So 12C509 or 509A are fine. I think they're just the same as the 12C508 with more memory. So these are 12C508As. I can use those. And the 509As. Yeah, there you go, you can see it. So anyone from this bag or that, these C family flash once. If something goes wrong, they go in the bin. Whereas these are 12F675s, which are a different family. So I can't use them, but I'm just showing you because the F means you can just keep flashing them as many times as you want. So if something goes wrong, it doesn't matter. So if anything goes wrong when I'm flashing these, they go in the bin. It usually doesn't, but it happens. And sometimes you buy batches from overseas because you think they're cheap and they're all badly flashed and they go in the bin because they're rubbish that someone sold you. So I'm not concerned whether I use the 9s or the 8s. It doesn't matter. So I'll just grab one of these 8s. That'll do. .508A. I'll use that one. So for flashing, I'm just using this XGeeku Pro TL8662 Plus. Kind of the go-to for years. Previously, I used these other PIC flashes. They're really pain in the ass to set up. I had to adjust the baud rates and muck around with the comms settings in Windows. I think the last time I used one of those was maybe Windows 7 before I got this. And even in Windows XP, I remember them not being that smooth to use, but you can use them. I'll show you them soon on AliExpress. But even this is getting old. I've been wanting to upgrade it for years. And in fact, the one I wanted to upgrade this to from is not even the latest anymore. There's an even newer model, but the reason is because a few years ago I've been ripped off on a few things. So PIC chips, don't buy them from China; they're duds. And Z80s, I got a batch of dud Z80 CPUs. I think out of all of them, one of them worked. Some of them were just rebadged; they weren't even Z80s. Yeah, they were just short circuits and just getting hot or not working. But these chips here are another thing I got ripped off on. The original UV erasable BIOS chips on Sega Naomi's. This is a drop-in replacement, 29F61, whatever that says. And they're pin compatible replacement, but this flasher can't flash them. The next model I think is a T85 or something, and it can. You might be able to get these to flash with an adapter, but after I got a massive batch of those UV erasables, and they were all faulty, and they weren't cheap, I bought these. But again, I can't flash them, so I've got to upgrade. But for what we're doing now, which is just a PIC chip, you know, they do support lots of chips. PIC chip's one of them, so it's fine. I'm just looking for the cable to plug that in, and then I'll do a screen capture of the flash. Okay, so here's the XG Pro software. I don't have the device plugged in yet. It's a 8662 Plus. So there's a T48 and 56. I'm sure there's an even newer one than a 56 now. Anyway, here we load up our matrix PIC Fix. I'm not sure what this H16 one is. I've never used it, but the 8 works. I've tested the chips afterwards. I don't test them anymore because I know that they work as long as the flash is good. I've got the installation diagram up as well that we're going to be using. So we select that. That's what we want to flash. We did choose a 508A, so that's the correct chip. I'll just double check. This was a 508A. 8A, yeah. And no programmer found. I'll plug it in a sec. Now, so where'd that cable go here? Right in front of me. It's just a printer cable, USB A to, what's that, B, I think. Can't remember. No programmer found. Oh, there, programmer connected. Yep. So once we go to program, it'll tell us how to plug it in. So it's towards the lever end with the pin 1 dot to the back, just up here. I've recently cleaned the heck out of these pins because I used to have to jiggle it around to get a good connection, but hopefully it's all good, because if they're not connected properly, either you get a bad flash, or it just comes up pin detect error. That should be right. So just click program, pin detect error. Try again. Bad pins found. Give it another clean. Bad pin found. Just move it over here maybe. There we go. So that has succeeded. If we read that back, it'll match. So if we screenshot that, and then read the picture back, we can compare that to that, and they'll match. But I'm sure I had it set to verify anyway, so it should have just self-verified. But yeah, that's it. So move on to installing it. Oh, also, we've got the original Matrix team document here. So you can see in the notes, it actually says, if the value is less than 1K, the PS2 will stay in a permanent reset state, so it won't even turn on. But not to go higher than 3K3, because it won't be able to even turn the PS2 off. And then they've recommended the 1K5 here, but if you have problems, you can probably safely increase it to about 2 to 2K2. So I'm sitting on 2.15 or 2150 instead of 2200. It was a 390 and a 1K8, but they're like plus minus 5% or something. That's why I ended up landing on 2150. But yeah, we're good to go. Alright, move back over here. I've got the installation picture, should be on this retro computer here for me to reference. Just give me a sec. view, full screen, and can get rid of this programmer now and the cable. I always grab those cables when I see them at the tip shop because they're like 20 cents and I'm always losing them, so I've probably got a few floating around now. And yeah, they come in handy for powering things, certain devices. Or not just power, data or whatever. So we could see on the diagram that just going to open this up. We only need the corner legs, so I'm actually just going to fold these up straight like that. And that. So people do sell PCBs, but you can use them if you want. And they've got like the different package of that sits flush on the board with like a bypass cap. These work without a bypass cap. I think, you know, if you want to put a 0.1 UF capacitor for high frequency noise filtering across power and ground, like by all means go ahead, but it's really not needed. We don't need these legs at all. So just going to break them off. I guess a lot of things these days for the retro scene, like retro community, retro consoles, mods and that are about neatness. So yeah, I mean, those custom design boards are maybe gonna look neater, but they're absolutely identical functionality wise. So they're legs we need. Just grab this system again. And there's our chip. It's all soldered in. That's that wire that came off. I was a bit lazy when I installed it the first time. I assumed it was good with my eyes. It's good now. And then H, which the guide says we don't need on a power console, or the installation diagram. We got our alternate 3v3 and our alternate ground. Reset there. It's fairly neat. I don't do solder porn, wire glue, super neat routing. It looks good, but it's not gonna make a difference in the end. So let's get this PIC Fix installed. Then we got our 2150 ohm resistors here, which I'll heat shrink. So I might actually connect that first. So I'm just referencing this diagram here, because I certainly haven't memorized the points. So I've got to find the point J, which is image 5, which is up around, which way he's got that board? It's upside down. He's got it facing this way. And 5 is up about here. And it's there. So that's point J. So I want to, might help if the soldering iron's switched on. Oh, I've got that point on it. I'm going to change that. That tip. That one will do. Nice generic wedge. This is technically no clean flux. Well, it was. I bought some flux because it was a bit cheaper than what I normally use, and I wasn't happy with it. And then I went to buy the stuff I was happy with. Same brand, same description, slightly different number of the like product number. And then when I went to buy it, I decided to try another brand again, which honestly seemed like the exact same soldering liquid, liquid flux, soldering flux, but a different brand. So then I ended up with 2 bottles of flux I wasn't happy with. So I think anything that's clear is not very good. So what I've done is I've added, this is a hybrid of 3 fluxes. It's the 2 liquid fluxes I didn't like, mixed with some really thick, gluggy orange rosin flux. And I just put it in there until it was the right shade of amber. So you can't buy this stuff. It's a hybrid mix. So I've just hooked up that point there to kind of guide me of where I can place this PIC chip. And you got to be careful with that because you can rip that pad up, which you don't want. And I'll be putting that in heat shrink, which I might grab now. That's not the right heat shrink. It's too thin. I'm sure that's the right stuff. Actually, try again. I do not remember feeling any resistance. I just dipped the end of the heat shrink in the soldering paste as a lubricant, and that allowed it to slide on because it's a tight fit. So we're nearly there. Well, I really didn't want the heat shrink or how far I could slide it onto these 2 resistors to have any part or to dictate where I installed the PIC chip, but it is what it is. It might influence our installation decision, but for now, I'll get this back on here. Fix here. Just fine. And I'll heat shrink that now. We want it to be a bit lower than there because there's a little bit of material that sits on top of that. Just get the heat from there to the top shield and utilize the top shield as a sort of heat sink. We don't want it obstructing that. Then our PIC chip here. So I'm just gonna anchor the PIC chip into place with the ground leg. So I'll just chuck that installation back in the top corner. There we go. So I've hooked up the J point, which you can see it's got the 2K2 resistor on it, or 2.15K in our case. And that's going to leg 5. So where's the PIC chip? Oops. I've misplaced it. Oh, it's on the motherboard. So that'll be going to which J5 would be that leg there. But our ground is, hang on, that's our ground leg here, which we want to anchor it with. And then K is here. So if we place this somewhere around here, so that that resistor can get soldered onto that leg. We just need to find a ground plane. That looks like one here. It's good to chuck music on, or my headset cuts it out. Just play that again. So if this is a ground plane, that'd be perfect. And it is. So I can anchor that here, and then that leg will line up with the resistor. Just trying to get that to take solder. If I need to, I'll just etch some of the green back completely, but see how that goes. That's better. Okay, it's still not taking. Should have a better tool for this floating around. That'll do it. So that's now a ground point and a mechanical point. That's going to keep it where it needs to be. And then we can hook up our point here. Right to there. So is that done? And on the opposite side of the ground is our 5-volt point. There's a couple 5-volt regulators on this board. There's one up here which I'll go to, and then there's one down here. Is that it? 78M05. Yep. I think the other one's what you'd power a retro gem off. Another regulator here as well. What's that? 7808. So it's not a 5-volt one. So we'll just go to the output of there as per the guide. Kynar's fine for this. You don't need a thick wire. The power draw on a PIC chip is very small, and also at that length, it's going to be okay. So, where's that PIC chip at? Here, I'll just trim that bit off it carefully. It's all right. Might even feed this through here. Then around the corner. You got to be careful when you're doing this. It looks a bit neater, but you can, if you're not careful, you can bend those pins at the corners inwards. I don't know how I know that. You kind of grab each one at the same time here and carefully. Yeah. Then over to our regulator. Can just come in next to it, might be easier. Just nudge it in. That's on there good. Might be able to. Is there much excess on that? Is it worth pulling on? There you go, nice straight line from there across and down. It's a bit fiddly, this. Just checking under the board because that's got 5 volts on it, so I don't want a big blob there that reaches the PCB, even if it's got the green coating on it. But that's good, that's floating. Just I'd prefer if it was buried a little bit deeper into that solder. There you go. So our last remaining leg, what's that? K. Probably should have chopped these off before I mounted it. And K is going for down around here for resistor pack 103. There's our resistor pack. Then you've got these two 10k resistors, individual resistors. It goes on the bottom of the left one. So resistor pack, 2 single resistors and another one down there. So it's definitely here to here. Pull on the thing. That's all good. No, it's not. Just want to make sure that's not shorting into that wire. Maybe they're meant to be connected. We'll pull that off and check. I had a short there. This point really should have just been a 2-second job, but it's like a little bump here. There you go. So that's it. Once that wire's run, job finished. So just grab this point here. That's it. All right, I stuffed up. So, I mean, in my defense, it was very late at night or early in the AMs, and I was probably concentrating a bit too much on whether OBS was successfully capturing the stream. But when I powered the system on, the green light came on, and then it just shut off, sort of like the PIC chip was engaging up here. So that leg there should be here, and that one should be here. So I've got J and K switched, and what that's done is that's actually put a short on my 3v3 rail. So initially I looked at my alternate spot that I used to grab 3.3 volt, and I thought maybe that's a ground, and my multimeter was buzzing because it will actually buzz for a short at anything under than a certain amount of resistance. It doesn't have to be a direct zero resistance, 0 ohm resistance short for it to buzz. I thought maybe that's what's happened, and that wasn't a 3.3 volt. It was a ground, but it shouldn't buzz at that high over resistance. It is quite low though. I think between 3v3 and ground there's only about 300 ohms. So I've switched in the meantime to the normal 3.3 volt point, which didn't help because I don't think that was the issue. So I'm just going to pull this connection off and see if our short disappears. We'll take this one off as well. Then check for this short. It's still there. I might just check the resistance between 3v3 and ground. We get 400 ohm, 300. Maybe my multimeter's playing up because it's not showing me that on buzz. Oh, there it goes. It's showing me 15 to 20. It's strange, but if I put this on resistance mode, between 3v3 and ground, 27, 25, yeah, 25 to 20 to 30, it's jumping all over the shop. That should be the problem either way, so guess I'm gonna have to put an off cut on there. Alright, so I don't think that was the short circuit. The short I found, I wasn't quite thorough enough on my check over before I reassembled. But this was also a mistake. So I'm just gonna attach this off cut of wire. Then I'll just use a bit of heat shrink. this one. Should be on here. We'll just shrink that up. That's good. So that's floating, it's not touching anything underneath. And we're mounted there with the ground. And those have been swapped, so that's all good now. So one more thing, I like to burn a fresh game just to test these mod chips with. So I get these disc bundles from op shops. People throw them away, not many people burn discs anymore. So I've got a few choices here. I think they're all CDRs. These are TDK. Hang on, block the camera. TDK DVD-R, which should be okay to use. I might use one of those. It's got a nice dark bottom. I've also got TDK DVD Plus R. So DVD Plus Rs will work, but you shouldn't use them. It's a different kind of format, I guess. They will work, but it's best not to use them. So the DVD negative Rs are what the PS2's sort of made to read. Well, not burnable ones, but yeah. Then what else is here? Sony DVD negative R, also from the tip shops. So yeah, I'll just go with the TDK. Should be fine. I've got a couple burners here. So I had, my iron's still on. I had one that I had mounted sideways, and it didn't like being mounted sideways. But I thought it was broken, so I replaced it. but it turns out that the other burner did work. It just didn't like working on its side anymore. Just looking for the burner. Where is it? Oh, I found it. This is an ASUS. They still sell these external burners. I'm sure you could probably get internal ones too, but again, people don't really use them. This one's got, for some reason, a separate power plug. I assume one's for power and one's for data. The LG one I had just has a single USB, but I mean, this will do the job. So I'll just plug it in. USB 2 port should be fine. This one and 2. I'll grab this TDK DVD-R. My favorite burning software for PS1 and 2 games is actually Brasero, which is a Linux app. But image burn will do. That laptop broke. I haven't even looked at it. Just going to here, PS2. Oh, I must have moved them into CD and DVD folders. It's a good game. Silent Hill, maybe. Silent Hill 3. Why is that's 2? There's 3. That'll do. We'll burn it at max speed, why not? This throws an error for some reason after it ejects a tray, but it works. So I actually think the short is down in here or here, there, which I didn't see last night. So when you have problems like this, sometimes it's best to just walk away, eat some chocolate, drink some Coke, and come back with a fresh mind. Just keep your hands off the tools, do some thinking, come back and fix it later. So that should be easy to clear. I think that's nearly it. I can see a little bit in there. I can still see a tiny bridge just in there. There we go. There, that's still beeping, but now it's not showing 0 ohm. I'll change this to, it's showing 39. So I'll turn it off continuity mode and just put it on the ohms. I got 40 ohm, which is not a direct short, which is fine. And just out of curiosity, that original point I used for the 3.3 compared to the one suggested on the guide. Is also 40 ohms, so that was a ground I connected it to, which looks very obvious if you actually look at it. That was silly. No, because it's connected to a big giant plane. But yes, that's good. That should be fixed now. Alright, so it's all looking good. You can see still, I've cleaned it now. These are still very strong connections. People might disagree with how I've done those, but they're solid. Pull on them quite hard. So I'll reassemble it again. I'll test it out. Alright, so I just went over the main board with some cotton tips and ISO. Just gave it a bit of a clean while the disc burnt. Just gonna wipe down the little work tray here. It's a heat-proof baking mat. Probably doesn't really have the anti-static properties of a proper anti-static mat, but there's not really much static going on in here. I've worked on carpeted floors and everything. I've never burnt anything out with a static shock. I'll just put a bit of Captain tape over the chip, and here we can reinstall it. So one thing I often forget is that the disk drive has to go on first. So I'll flip this way, get this sucker hooked back up. So I'll start here with the laser ribbon. Push that in, clip it back down. And what's that one? That's for the, oops, that's not in properly. Hang on. Because the lip wasn't fully open, the clip. That's right in now. Yeah. And this one's the power for the laser sled. It just pushes in. These ribbons don't have an infinite lifespan if you plug them in and out too many times. You can sort of sometimes glue the blue bits back on, but yeah, not something you want to keep doing over and over. So that's the disk drive reconnected. Grab the tray. And this sort of hugs the disk drive with the clips on the front and the two on the back. So just push that down, it'll clip it and hold. So that's all good. Then we have our small screws. So again, the two flat ones that don't have dome tops go up here on the flat surface. And the other flat top screw, no, that's a dome, so I'll just chuck that elsewhere. Like here, sounds good. That's got a dome on it. Another dome. There's our flat top. One more. Right. I'll probably go into the fan assembly next. Just tucks in like that. Plug the fan back in. And I think there's one screw or two on the top side. Which were these? Yeah. There's one here. Then one here. You've got your anti-static, sorry, non-conductive, just to go between the conductive shielding and the power supply. sometimes forget the order of this. I think it's disk drive tray first and then power supply on top. Yeah. And they're the 4 tiny bronze screws. Plug the power supply back in. Now I've got one more screw. So I've got 2 for the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then front and back, and then 2 small. So where's that one screw go? So I've just backtracked the screw that I missed. It was just here under the fan assembly. And this hides it, goes over. Pop the one back in the middle between the fan and the power switch, and the one back here, which leaves us 2. Yay. Slide the ribbon back in. As far in as it can go. Clip the latch back down. I hate these. Again, you will get consoles where those break when you try and open them. Usually I've got lots of spares, but I don't anymore. This one's all good. Final 2 bronze screws of that length. One there. One there. Okay. Slide the top shell back on. Flip her up. So this silver one was at the front. And if you use the wrong screw, you'll send it through the top shell. So that's really the only one you need to remember, silver up there. Then you've got these short black ones. And the 4 long ones. And normally you'd have a plastic clip for the back where the hard drive goes if you're not using one, but this was sent in without one. Then for the feet, you've got the rubbery ones for the corners, plain plastic everywhere else. That's it. So this one's not HDMI modded. I've got a GBSC. It's like a custom one. I clock modded it and put some good caps in it, but I flashed the firmware and it started playing up. It works, but if you try and go into the Wi-Fi and change settings, it just crashes. And then I've got an OSSC as well, but I can't find the 5-volt power supply for it. So what I'm going to use is this cheap retro scaler. I think it's a retro RetroTink 2X clone or something. But I'll see if I can find the component cable for a PS2. Otherwise I can use composite or S-Video as well. And that'll give me HDMI output that I can capture through the capture card. So I will have the cables. I've just got to dig through a box, which I'll do now. Okay, so finally I got this thing reassembled and ready to test. Just to get the capture, my options are this GBSC, which I bought after this OSSC. So the OSSC was good. They're quite cheap. This can be modded for 2K output, 1440p, which I haven't done yet, but probably 4 or 5 years ago. Geez, time flies. I wanted to do a playthrough of the original Dino Crisis. It does look a lot better on the Dreamcast, but I played it on the PS1, so I wanted to play the PS1 version. And I was using this, but the game's in 240p, the menus are in 480i, and the transition between the game and the menu, which you do often, causes sync drops on this. It doesn't happen on a GBSC, but the problem I had with this, it does work, but this is like a custom hacked one from China, the screen, and I updated the firmware to the latest firmware of the GitHub repo, and it's had issues since. Like, it works, but if you go into the Wi-Fi backend to change config, it'll often just start boot looping. So it works as long as you don't connect it up to the internet. And once you connect it to the internet, it stays connected, and you need to reflash it. I haven't figured a way out to get in there and to kind of get it offline so it doesn't boot loop without reflashing it. So I just got sick of it. I ended up playing the game on a CRT anyway. So I can't find the 5-volt power supply for the OSSC. It's floating around somewhere, but I got this. So those first two options take RGB, and I've got a high quality RGB cable. This, but for this one doesn't take RGB. It does take YP BPR component and S-Video. And you tend to collect a lot of cables when you're doing this stuff. So I've got a box full of basically every cable you can get for every console. So I've dug out a PS2 component cable, and I'll just use this Retro Scaler 2X. I think it's a RetroTink 2X clone. And it did have one more option. I've had this for a few years, and I never used it because I ended up getting the PCIe internal capture card. It's a Sparkle Streamer 4K 60 PCIe. It was on sale and I couldn't resist, so I got it. But this one takes S-Video and composite along with audio. and sends it over via USB. Well, I might never use it. So I'll hook this thing up. Get the audio here on a separate loom. So I hope the capture software's set up. I've got it set to capture audio simultaneously from my headset and the Sparkle Streamer card, but I haven't checked to see if it's going to work. Either way, we'll get video output. Plug that in. I've just got this running to a USB on a GPO. There we go. And power. And we'll set the input select on here to YPBPR. Plug in a controller. That should be it. So I think the first thing I should do is hold circle and triangle at the same time while I boot this thing up. Turn it on. Hang on a second. I haven't got the HDMI cable plugged in. Give me a moment. It is plugged into this input card. It's not plugged into the scaler. There we go. So triangle and circle. Here's open. Perfect. So here are all our BIOS options. I'm just going to leave this how it is. So at least I know the BIOS side's working. And now I'll just pop in this that disc we burnt. I think that's Silent Hill 3 I burnt last night. And pop her in. Let's give it a reset. So I was a bit worried about only 40 ohms between 3.3 volt and ground. That's strange, 40 ohms, but it seems to be normal. It's booting the game, which is good. This is the first time I've checked it, so that's very good news. I'm not getting any input, audio input from the console, but there might not be any audio yet. I believe the game's booting. Do I need to press a button? Oh, there it goes. Oh, I saw some audio capture there, so looks like you'll get the in-game sound. That's a really good quality for a cheapie. I'd be happy playing. I found my CD wallet, so these are actually advised against using. They're not really verbatim. They're made by some other company, which I can't recall off the top of my head. But they seem to work fine. this one here. Which, even though I've got a bunch of original Matrix, sorry, not Matrix, X stations, I still like to just burn discs sometimes. So that's got my Uber chip in it. So I'll just pop Grand Theft Auto 2 in, turn the console back on. And I'll overlay some pictures of the final installation. Looks a lot neater overall than just looking at the little points on the scope. It doesn't seem to want to boot that. See if there's any settings. For PS1 games that I've missed. Well, that should be on. Don't even know what that does. Let's just turn the patches on. Oh, there we go. I can't see audio capture happening from the capture card. There should definitely be audio right now. But I can hear it coming out from somewhere else. No, that's people in the kitchen. Anyway, I'm not sure why it's not coming through the capture card. But that's working. So we're all good. Yeah.